Here we go. All right. What's up, guys? Today we're here to compare two cameras, the Panasonic Panasonic. What's up, guys? Today we're here to compare two cameras, the Panasonic S1 and the Zcam E2 S6. First, we're gonna start with the Panasonic, the Lumix S1. So this camera is actually not a dedicated cinema camera like the S6 over here. It's a mirrorless hybrid camera. It basically shoots photos and video. It's got a lot of great video features that are built in, which is why I thought this would be a good comparison. The S1, difference is this is a full frame camera, whereas the S6 is actually a crop sensor. This camera comes with a full HDMI out, a USB-C, microphone and headphone jack, and a remote port. It also has two slots on it, one dedicated SD card slot, and then the other one is for XQD, the Sony XQD cards, which is that's a nice feature about this camera that the Zcam doesn't have, is you can have redundant recording, so you always have a continuous backup of what you're doing. The camera shoots in a multitude of different resolutions and frame rates. I'll list those frame rates on the screen. Where will we put those frame rates at, Chase? Sorry. This is where all right. The camera comes with an L mount, like an L mount, which is a lot different, as this camera comes with a few different mounts that we can talk about later. It has a built-in EVF and a built-in back LCD, which is really useful for on-the-go, on-the-fly shooting. As far as real world, like practicality use, we've used this camera on multiple shoots for different weddings. We've used it on a couple short films, but we primarily stick with this camera for short film work, as it is dedicated towards that. I purchased this camera after I sold my Canon EOS R, primarily because of the video features. It does have a few built-in photography features that the EOS R did not have, such as a dedicated time-lapse mode that saved all the images, saved all the photos after you completed the shooting, which was nice for post-production work. Also has a high-resolution mode that shoots up to 96 megapixels, which is nice for landscapes, star trail photography, night scene photography, which is one of the big things that I like to do. Another big selling point of this camera was Panasonic recently released a firmware update that lets you shoot in 6K open gate on this camera, which was a big selling point for me. It's kind of the middle of the road, where like the S1H lets you shoot in a few different codecs, whereas this one you're kind of stuck with IPV. But it has more codecs than, say, the S1, what is it, R? It has more codecs than the S1R. There's also the Panasonic S5, which is kind of like the baby brother to this. It's slightly more compact, a little smaller. This is a pretty robust camera. This camera also offers in-body image stabilization, which is great for certain things, like certain run and gun situations. It was great for weddings, documentary work. You kind of just run with the camera in your hand. You don't have to worry too much about those micro jitters that you get without it. I haven't used this camera much. I bought this camera thinking it was going to be one of my primary stills shooters, because for photography I really wanted something that was more robust than the EOS R, which is funny because I actually ended up buying a 5D Mark III shortly after that, and I tend to use that camera a lot more than this one for photography. That might be due to the fact that I don't want to spend the money on the Leica or Panasonic lenses, as they do come at a pretty steep cost, whereas EF lenses, they've been around for years, and you can usually find pretty high quality glass at an affordable price for the Canon. From there, we're going to talk about the Zcam, and then after that we're going to talk a little more. We'll kind of do a little comparison. We'll show a couple images from each camera and see what they look like after they've been graded. Up next, we have the Zcam E2 S6. So this is a Super 35 millimeter sensor. This camera is more dedicated towards cinema work, video work. It comes with this little compact square body, which is great for building it out. Whereas this camera, you know, you're kind of stuck with what you have. You can still build it out. You can still add different things to it, but this really lets you go from, you know, this tiny little square to pretty much you know, a major cinema rig if you want. You can add all the weight you want or not have any of the weight that you want. It lets you have a multitude of different mounts on it, so you can actually change these mounts. You can have I'm pretty sure they have a micro four thirds mount. They have both a non-locking and locking micro four thirds mount. The EF mount, which is the one that's on here. They also come with a PL mount, an E mount, and I think there's one more mount. What the hell is it? There's one more. It's something like that, like an X mount or something weird. This camera also has dedicated function buttons on the side, which is really handy for, you know, quickly turning on focus peaking, adjusting white balance, exposure, LUTs, turning those things on and off. You can also set any of these buttons on top to be whatever you want it to be. On the back, you know, we have a Wi-Fi antenna, which has an excellent app, especially compared to the Panasonic app. It really kind of blows that one out of the water. It takes Sony NP-F batteries, but you also have the option to have a power in coming from a V-mount battery, which you can also use to power, you know, external accessories that are on the camera. It does record to CFast cards, which are not cheap cards, but if you do want to go the budget route, you do have a USB-C port, and you can record to external media using the USB-C port. In terms of practical real-world use, we've used this camera now going on about a year on all of our short films. Actually, I started using the Zcam E2 M4. It was a micro four thirds camera, also an Excel camera. We're actually filming on that camera right now. And I upgraded to the S6, which is just a slightly larger sensor, a little bit better in low light situations. I've really enjoyed the versatility with this camera. I can kind of rig it out to be anything I want. It's small, it's lightweight, it's easy to throw on a gimbal. We did shoot with a Blackmagic Ursa Mini 4K over the summer here, and that was very heavy, cumbersome camera where I can throw this on a gimbal. It's easy to shoot with, it's simple, doesn't weigh me down. In terms of image quality coming out of both these cameras, they're really good image quality coming out of both cameras, especially once you've dialed in your lighting. The S1 definitely has a slightly better low light capabilities than the S6, but it is a full frame sensor also. You're also able to push the ISO pretty far on the S6 before you know, it's unusable. I think we pushed it as far as 20,000 ISO before. And with a little noise reduction in post, we were able to have a pretty clean image out of this camera. One of the big selling factors for this camera for me was that it shoots in all different flavors of ProRes. So ProRes LT, ProRes 422, and then ProRes HQ. It also does H.265 and H.264 recording. The ProRes though was a big one for me, as I tend to use an older Mac for editing. And ProRes is just streamlined, especially when cutting in Final Cut Pro. It's so easy on the computer. It's easy to edit. It's easy to work with. And even when you're shooting in 6K, ProRes it doesn't even stutter. With the Panasonic S1, you're kind of stuck with just shooting in H.265. And on top of that, it's an IPB compression, so it's a really compressed file, and it's really taxing for your post-production workflow. I think my Mac is a 2017 iMac. It stutters a little bit when working with this footage. Originally, this camera, I picked it up when it had external recording options with the Atomos Ninja 5. So I had bought the Atomos Ninja 5 prior because I was running an EOS R, and this camera was able to output ProRes RAW to that monitor. I thought that was a big selling point. I think we've only shot one movie using ProRes RAW before. Not that we don't like it, it seemed like overkill for what we were doing. This camera didn't have that option at the time, but now it has the option to do external recording to the Atomos Ninja 5 in ProRes RAW. But it also, Blackmagic recently released an update that allows them to do external recording to B-RAW using their external recorder, which is a pretty big selling point for this camera. So even though you're stuck with H.265 internally, you could record to B-RAW or ProRes RAW depending on what monitor that you want to run. Here's an example video of the Panasonic S1. We shot a short with this. It was pretty easygoing, run and gun. It did look great. We had good lighting set up. And here's the clip.
Hey.
Wow, you're a lot prettier in person.
Oh, you don't have to wear a mask in here. You're fine.
Oh, cool. You don't care about the whole mask thing, right? That's
You don't need protection here, puppy.
okay. Well, you know, I just want to make sure you're comfortable, you know, because you know, we're strangers and all. Yeah.
You look a lot taller than your pictures.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Well, I guess you don't have to worry about the 6 feet rule here, right?
I'm ready for the next level.
Yeah. Well, I got 6 feet for you in my pants.
Oh, yeah, baby?
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. God, I love your teeth.
Oh, your chin is so sexy. Okay. Wait! Hold on. Wait.
What? What?
I have to tell you something.
Oh.
If we are going to fuck, I think it's best that I tell you something.
Oh God, what? Well, what is it? Oh, come on. You know, I knew this shit would happen. I knew it.
Wait, what are you talking about?
You're catfishing me, aren't you? Or
What?
yeah, you on Tinder. You act like you're all cool and you're down to fuck, right? And then I show up here. And now you got something to tell me? What does that mean?
I don't know what you're talking about, but you're sitting there touching bitches' asses in the gym, so don't even get me started.
I'm a physical trainer. Those are clients, okay? People need help pumping their legs and shit.
Some of the benefits of shooting that day with this camera is we just wanted something simple, quick and easy setup. It was going to be a 2-3 minute short film. We were just shooting something quick with our friends, so I really didn't even use a monitor for this that day. I was able to just use the monitor in the back, which made it easy. I was also booming sound at the same time, so being able to quickly reference the monitor, look at it real quick, adjust focus, and then throw the boom up and we could start rolling was nice to do. Whereas this usually takes a little more time. I have to rig it out. Something that was frustrating is they do have a dedicated white balance button on the top, but I was struggling to kind of dial in the right white balance that day using that button, so I kind of had to dig in through the menus a little bit. And I will say that neither camera is extremely intuitive in terms of their menu setup, but I don't think the Panasonic is intuitive at all. Whereas this, you kind of you can learn where everything's at. You use it enough, you kind of know. Whereas this, I swear, things that were once in one place get hidden in another, and I'm looking for them forever. All right, we have a number of short films we can reference with image in terms of image quality for this camera. We've used it in a variety of different situations. Mostly everything has been shot in ProRes 422 or ProRes HQ. The clip I mentioned earlier with the low light situation where we shot around 20,000 ISO, we can take a look at that clip right here.
Please. Dad told me to do it. It ain't personal, it's business. You know this. Please don't. Ramona, she's just upset. Just call her and talk to her, please. I wanted you.
Shut the fuck up, Tommy.
We just did a little bit of noise reduction, neat video in post, and it cleaned it right up. The reason why we're able to push the ISO a lot higher on these cameras is because they have an analog gain. So the grain on these cameras does not look as bad, so to say, as when you push these cameras to high ISOs. If we were to push this to 20,000 ISO, you'd see a lot more digital noise, where this one almost looks filmic with their noise. You'll still see a little bit of digital noise, but it's a lot cleaner. Benefits especially in real world use, on set, using a dedicated cinema camera really does give you, you know, I hate to say it, but more of the look that you're going for in terms of how you look as a production crew or company. When you show up on set with a, you know, a fully rigged out cinema camera, you're setting up lights, you're making everything look, you know, legit for a movie. People are going to kind of, you know, take a look at you and say, oh, you know, they look professional, they know what they're doing. Whereas showing up, you know, with a mirrorless camera, you know, small camera, it makes it seem like, you know, maybe you don't know so much what you're doing. Even if the image quality, you know, still can look great, even if you're still able to do a great job, you know, that impression that you're giving off might be just slightly different when you're shooting with something like this. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not a great camera. That doesn't mean that it doesn't have its uses. Like I said, I do think this has a big use in terms of like weddings, wedding videography, travel videography especially. Whereas this is definitely something that you got to take time to rig out, take time to set up, and really kind of know what you're doing and what you're looking for with your lighting. Honestly, at the end of the day, they're both great cameras, but I do always find myself leaning towards this one. When I'm gonna go reach for a camera, I say, you know, oh, like grab the Z-Cam, let's shoot. This does have, you know, photography built in, so that is nice feature about this camera. But honestly, I've been considering to sell it, if anyone's looking. But honestly, I've been looking to sell this camera as it doesn't really meet the needs I want, and it sits on the shelf a lot. I don't use it much. Even for video work, we did do a wedding where we shot with this, but I think on our next wedding, we're actually going to be shooting with this and maybe even just throw it on a stabilizer. We were able to shoot a full army video where we're chasing these guys down. We shot with these, and it had a great look to it. Everything looked great, despite not having the in-body image stabilization. We were able to work around that using weight and trying to make it look, you know, almost filmic to everything. So at the end of the day, it all depends on what you're shooting, the look you're going for, what you want in a camera. The ProRes is a big seller for me. It's one of the big reasons I reach for this camera all the time. It looks great. It takes a little more effort to set up, but honestly, it's just something I can live with. This camera, it's just a little more cumbersome to use. The menu is confusing. In comparison, you know, like I think the winner is probably the Z-Cam for video and image quality. The ProRes is a big selling point for me. This is definitely dedicated more towards the consumer market, like someone who's a hybrid shooter. This is probably going to either, you know, go on Craigslist or for sale. But whatever your preference is, you can't really go wrong with either. The image quality on both is great. It just depends on what you're shooting, what you're looking for. Yeah, if you like this content, you know, please subscribe to Doyen Artists. Keep us in mind. We're going to try to be releasing content like this, you know, every week. Thanks. God damn it. I don't. Hey, it's fucking YouTube videos. Put me behind the camera, bro.